In 6 years, an ordinary scratch on your hand could be the thing that kills you. Not a virus, not a war, not some asteroid from space, just a scratch. This is not a horror story. This is the conclusion reached after artificial intelligence analyzed global medical data, resistance trends, and the speed at which bacteria are evolving. Antibiotics, the single greatest weapon modern medicine has had for the last 80 years, are failing. And this isn't some distant hypothetical scenario or a worst-case projection that might happen decades from now. This is already happening, and according to the most alarming forecasts, by 2030 we could find ourselves living in a world where medicine has been thrown back 200 years, where pneumonia is a death sentence again, where a burst appendix kills you, and where giving birth becomes a game of Russian roulette. Artificial intelligence was used to analyze reports from the World Health Organization, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the European Medicines Agency, and multiple peer-reviewed medical studies. And after comparing the data, the trends, and the speed at which bacteria are evolving, the conclusion was clear. Humanity is standing on the edge of a catastrophe that could kill more people than cancer and diabetes combined. And the vast majority of you have no idea that this is already unfolding right now, while you are watching this video. Let me show you the numbers that should genuinely terrify you. In 2019, before the pandemic even started, bacteria resistant to antibiotics directly killed 1.27 million people around the world, which is more than HIV and more than malaria. And on top of that, another 4.95 million deaths were associated with antimicrobial resistance indirectly, meaning nearly 5 million people every single year. And that number is climbing. According to a forecast published in The Lancet, by 2050, resistant bacteria will be killing 10 million people annually, which is the equivalent of an entire megacity the size of New York or Los Angeles being wiped off the map every single year. But here is what is truly frightening. This is not a linear growth curve. This is exponential. Because bacteria mutate, they share resistance genes with each other like trading cards. They adapt faster than we can develop new drugs. And at some point, possibly within just a few years, we will cross a point of no return where the damage becomes irreversible. You might be thinking that this is something happening far away, in developing countries, in overcrowded hospitals, and that it doesn't affect you personally. But you would be wrong, and here is why. Have you ever taken antibiotics for a sore throat or popped them for a cold, even though colds are caused by viruses and antibiotics do absolutely nothing against them? Or stopped your course halfway through because you started feeling better? Or picked up antibiotics without a proper prescription? Every single time you did any of that, you were training the bacteria inside your own body, running them through a survival boot camp where the weak ones died off and the strong ones, the ones that happened to mutate and develop protection, survived and multiplied and grew stronger. And now those bacteria are living inside you, inside your family members, inside every person around you. Imagine you need surgery, something completely routine like an appendectomy, a joint replacement, or a C-section. And today, these are standard procedures that we barely think twice about. But without functioning antibiotics, every single operation becomes a gamble, because no surgeon can guarantee that the infection entering your wound will respond to any available treatment. Think about chemotherapy for cancer, which destroys your immune system. And without antibiotics protecting patients from infections during treatment, oncology becomes virtually untreatable. Organ transplants? You can forget about those entirely. We built this catastrophe ourselves. With our is not theory or speculation, this is already our reality. MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, does not respond to most antibiotics and lives on the skin of roughly 1 in 3 people, usually harmless as long as you have no open wound and your immune system is functioning. But the moment it enters your bloodstream, you end up in the ICU with doctors cycling through the last remaining drugs and hoping that at least one of them works.
There are now bacteria that are resistant to every single antibiotic in existence, every last one. And they are called pan-resistant organisms, and their numbers are growing. And in 2024,
the WHO updated its list of priority pathogens, the bacteria that pose the greatest threat to humanity. And in the critical category sit gram-negative bacteria against which we have almost no weapons left. Here is what the year 2030 could look like if nothing changes. You cut yourself in the kitchen, and the wound gets infected. So you go to the doctor, and the doctor runs a test and tells you that there is nothing effective to treat it with, that they will try one drug, but it might not work, and the side effects could damage your kidneys. And you lie in a hospital bed with an infected cut, just waiting to see whether the medication does anything at all. Exactly like people did in the 19th century. Your child gets an ear infection, a completely ordinary childhood ear infection, that today is cured in 5 days. But the bacteria is resistant, and the infection spreads and becomes meningitis, and your child is in intensive care, and the doctor has nothing left to offer. This is not science fiction, this is mathematics. And when artificial intelligence analyzes these numbers, without panic, without denial, and without political excuses, the result is terrifying. These are trends that have already been documented, measured, and are continuing to accelerate. I do not want to leave you in a state of panic with no way out, because there is a way out, but the window of opportunity is closing fast. On a personal level, you should never take antibiotics without a doctor's prescription. Never quit a course halfway through. Never pressure your doctor into prescribing antibiotics when they tell you they are not needed. And wash your hands regularly, which sounds basic, but remains the first line of defense against spreading resistant bacteria. On a systemic level, we need billions of dollars invested into developing new antibiotics. We need a ban on using antibiotics as growth promoters in livestock, which some countries have already implemented. We need global enforcement of prescription-only antibiotic sales. And we need to fund alternative approaches like bacteriophage therapy, antimicrobial peptides, and immunotherapy. But the most important thing is that people need to understand the scale of this threat. Because right now, antimicrobial resistance is killing more people than most of the diseases you hear about on the news every single day. Yet almost nobody talks about it because it seems like a boring topic, because it feels like something happening far away, because it feels like something that is not happening right now. It is happening right now. It is happening right here, and it concerns every single one of us. We are living in a unique moment in history, where we are the last generation that still has a chance to stop this. Because in 10 years, it may be too late. Since bacteria do not wait for us, they evolve every 20 minutes, producing a new generation every 20 minutes. Thousands of generations in a single year, millions of mutations, millions of attempts to break through our defenses. And they are winning. That is the part of the analysis that is hardest to accept. Bacteria do not need intelligence to defeat us. They only need time, numbers, and our mistakes. Share this video, not because I need views, but because every single person who learns about this and changes their behavior is one small step back from the edge of the cliff. And we will either solve this problem together, or we will together return to an era when people died from an infected splinter. The choice is ours, and we are almost out of time.